Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Dawn at the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I think I'm not sure we could be farther apart in terms of mileage and weather differences. It was funny. I had a board member who lived in Stevens Point, and we did a January board meeting in Tampa at one year, and it was a literal 100-degree delta between the temperature in Stevens Point and the temperature in Tampa. So hopefully
Oof.
you're not feeling that 100-degree delta today.
We have a little bit of snow,
Okay.
but not, early in the season.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well,
So it's all
uh,
good.
we're you and I were just chatting a little bit before. This is the heart of the showcase season. Last weekend there
Mhm.
was Norco and St. Louis and Raleigh and all these things. Your guys' season's wrapped up. You were in St. Louis. I was in Raleigh. Kind of how quickly, once the season ends, are you jumping on that recruiting train? And really during the season, give me a percentage. What amount of time is spent recruiting versus the typical in-season team that's happening games
Yeah.
now thing?
Um, for me, we try to concentrate a lot of our time on the season and the players we have, right? Out of respect for them and respect for each other and um, respect of our goals and what we're trying to achieve. And so we spend a lot of time with the team. I think we may leave one night to go watch a state cup game here or something along those lines, if it makes sense. Not so much if we've got to rearrange everything with our college team. Once we get out of the season, obviously we've been recruiting throughout the season in terms of getting commitments and stuff. And so we only need like one or two more kids for the 2025 class. Um, but I mean, we pretty much are a year ahead in terms of scheduling for recruits, and we'll have our top 2026s come in January. And, last year we were pretty much done in the end of February. So, um, it's one of those where it becomes fun, but then it's like exciting because you're waiting for them to get here. By the time they get here, you're like, all right, we already have another group ready to come in, like so we're not ones when we talk about recruiting, we're not ones to guarantee playing time. I don't know what they're going to be doing in the off season. I don't know where our players are going to be in the off season. And I don't want to be sitting across from somebody guaranteeing playing time when, my job as a coach is to make sure the people we have in our on our team basically improving them. And that's my main goal for the spring is to at least, you don't recruit what you have, you recruit over that in terms of talent. And my job as a coach, and one of my favorite parts of the coaching job, is getting the players we have up to the level of those kids that we recruited for the upcoming class. And that way, when they come in, it's a battle and they can compete with each other and know it's okay to compete with each other and embrace that, right? We always joke about embracing the suck, right? If it was easy, everybody'd do it. And we have a class that embraces it to its fullest. And I mean, we had the girls over the current team over at the house last night for our annual chili dinner. So we had that, and just again, it's all about connecting with them. Like I'm very much a relationship type of coach, and that's what I love about the game and I love about our team. Like we don't take away their personalities. I want them to show me how crazy and just, I mean, let's face it, when the game's in the thick of things, we want their personality to be there and be okay with it. And we've been in those games where it's paid off for us as well. So, but I don't really start really looking at thinking about what we need to go do and where we need to go until we get into conference, basically. And then it's like, okay, I got to get airline tickets if I have to get it, that type of
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. But for the most part, like I want to be present just like I want our players to be present
Oh,
during the season.
I love that. Well, and like we said, last weekend there was something on the West Coast, Midwest, East Coast. So when you're looking for players or looking to watch players play, where is it that you like to go? What types of events? What are kind of the must hits on your list each year?
I think as this has kind of taken off with, alphabet soup and all the other stuff that's going on. Like, I think some of those tournaments, like I think um, Castle as we used to
Yeah.
know it, right?
Yeah.
The North Carolina tournament, like that's always great when the College Cup is there, right? And if it's not as great per se. So you can either go to ECNL, GA, I do a lot of the exact camps and I absolutely love them. I love that they bring in a mentality piece because I think we're getting to a point in the recruiting process where skill levels are starting to kind of be the same consistently, but the difference is what's between the ears, right? And how hard you can push someone and what's quote unquote their breaking point or whatever. And I think that's where you kind of find the cream of the crop, right? Like as a coach, we want those kids that are more, they hate losing more than they love winning, right? Because you're not motivating them. You're not, they're in it for the right reasons in terms of competing and playing. And they're the same way with their academics, right? Normally. And you don't have to worry about, are they going to class? Are they like, they're doing the right things early enough. And, if I have to pick between a player who falls to us per se, who thinks, oh, I'm a Division 1 player, but the reality is, they're in the transfer portal the next year. Like, to me, I would want the kid who wants to be here, right? Not the kid who ends up here. And so we really kind of look for that. I talk a lot about, does your desire even with your mentality, right? I totally want to play on the national team, but I sit on my couch and eat ho-hos and ding dongs. Not, they don't match up, right? And those are what we're looking for. We're looking for the people who, don't just talk the talk, but walk the talk and see kind of where we're at. Because, I'd take somebody who I know what I'm getting day after day after day over somebody who plays when they want to. And I know as a player, you look at those kids and you think, is she willing to play for me? And it's hard to get those kids that play when they want to play for somebody else. And so, to me, while it might look great on a piece of paper that they're coming, the reality of it is I'm going to be fighting with them consistently because, my what I'm requiring out of them is going to be more than what they're giving me, right? Like I always say, I'm not going to call you and wake you up and say, oh my God, congrats on waking up. Like that's kind of the expectation, right? If you go above that expectation, then we're going to have a talk and then you'll be rewarded for what it is you're doing. But the reality of it is these are our expectations and our standards. Are you above or below the line? And that's really what we look for when we're recruiting and doing all the other stuff. So, I've recruited a good number of players that I'm watching a game and they're getting their butt handed to them, right? But I'm so excited because they're still going, right? They're still trying to find, I'm going to get a goal. I'm going to get a goal. I'm going to make sure they don't get another one. Like those are the players that you're not having to motivate and are in it because they want to get better. And those are the ones that I absolutely love, right? The workforce,
Yeah. Yeah.
the grinders.
Makes a lot of sense. Um, you mentioned transfer portal, and obviously that's kind of become a huge thing these days. Is that something that you look at all when you're recruiting, or do you prefer kind of the 4 year player that you have the whole time?
It's funny. Like, I'll look through it. I think right now there's 1,500 in the portal. And you think, okay, that's 1,500, and you have the incoming freshman class, and you know, I think it's something like 28% get out of the portal once they get in it. So it's kind of a unique thought process. Um, but rarely will I reach out to somebody unless I recruited them the first time. But then also, even with that, there's that great debate of let's say a kid's a D1 kid, right? And they went to a mid-major school, right? Because normally we get in recruiting battles with the directional schools, the northern this, eastern that, whatever. Um, so if they go there and they don't play, are they better than a kid who's been playing on her club team for for the last year, playing the whole time? And a lot of times I think we get parents and kids in the portal, they're like, well, I played D1. Well, did you though? Right? And they're like, well, I trained all year against them. But knowing that you're not playing is you're training the same as if you were playing. And I don't think a lot of them can say yes, you know? So it really, to me, I'd take a D2 kid over somebody as long as they're playing. Now, if they're not playing, then we have a whole nother issue. And so there's that, you got the scale trying to think, well, is it worth going after her with, like she didn't want to be here the first time. Like, and again, trying to get those players to play for them. Like it may be a great quick fix, but in the long term, does it hinder your team chemistry? And those are really big things. Like, I always joke, and if a kid wants to come here and play, I'll say, I haven't seen you play. I don't want to take up a year of eligibility if I've never seen you play. So you can come and then try out in the spring. And my thought behind that is they don't lose a year of eligibility, but also like team chemistry is so important to me. If I come in the beginning of the season and I go through preseason, that player could have an adverse effect on our team chemistry. But if they come out in the spring, and I always joke and say anybody can act like they're a princess and nice and whatever for 2 days, right? But like if they have to get up at 6 a.m. for a good period of time to do soccer practice or whatever, sooner or later I'm going to see what their true self is, right? And that's what I'm looking for, right? Like, everybody thinks team chemistry is all about no issues, no whatever, but the reality of it is you have to have enough patience to call someone out and respect them enough to call them out when that standard's not being met. And that's where you start looking at the difference between a transfer and a non-transfer, and the buy-in, and there's so many other things that go into it. And I think maybe if I had a good senior leadership group coming in, maybe that's where it's like, okay, can I take a risk on a transfer from that side? So it just really depends year by year and kind of what's going on. But ultimately, you want people who want to be here. And to me, I really embrace that. I think we have a great university. I think we have a great community. Like I want people to want to be here and then be engaged in what we have to offer.
Yeah, oh, makes a lot of sense. Well, let's talk about that great university, that great town. You've been there uh, yeah, a number of years now. So what is it that stands out to you about Wisconsin Stevens Point? Maybe some things that are great about the school we wouldn't know even going by the website.
It's really funny. When I first applied here, I actually applied for it the first time it came open, and then I didn't follow through on the paperwork process. I was like, well, maybe I'll hold off. And so when I went back to apply the next time, it was like, oh my God, all my stuff's in here. Like, this is great, right? So I think that was a little foreboding in that sense. Um, but when I started to do research on it, the worst thing anybody had to say about Stevens Point was it's in the middle of Wisconsin. And I was like, that's it? That's all you got? Like, to me, that's like a huge selling point. I'm 3 hours from Minneapolis. I'm 2.5 from Milwaukee. I'm 3 from Chicago, an hour to Green Bay. Like, what else do you need, right? You can go wherever you need to go, and it's not a long, huge trip. Um, so that was a big thing. Then once I got here, the community is just so embracing of the school. Like it's annoying sometimes when I want to sneak out to get some creamer early in the morning because I'm out of coffee creamer, and someone's like, "Hey, coach," and I'm like going, "Oh my God, they just saw me and whatever outfit I was wearing or whatever." Um, but they really do take the time to get to know everybody on campus. Um, then with that, we have a slogan here that it's 500 athletes, but only 1 point. And we kind of live and breathe that slogan. We do a 1 point event with all the college athletes on Labor Day. This year, it started at 6 and it ended, I think the last people left at 9, right? And it's mandatory that you're kind of there, but then like however long you stay is however long you stay, right? We did a kind of an event where, like for soccer, we did you had to see if you could juggle 10 times. So all the other sports did our station. And if they were able to do it, they got a ticket. And then like football did field goals. I think, volleyball did setting, men's volleyball did spiking into a net. So there were all these different things that you could do. Then the funnier part was afterwards, for every 3 tickets you got, you could put a coach in a dunking booth and you got 3 balls to dunk the coach. So I think the last people left at like 9 o'clock at night. So it was, well, I left at 9 o'clock at night. So like it just is a really good group. Like, we could walk away and have 200-300 kids and people in our stands when we play on campus. Like, men's basketball, the arena's packed. Women's basketball, the arena's packed. Volleyball, the arena's packed. They do a great job of coming out and supporting other athletes, right? Which I absolutely love. I love the fact that even for us as coaches, you walk down the hall and you see our football coach talking to our women's volleyball coach. You see our men's hockey coach talking with women's basketball. So like there isn't this I only care about my program. It's all of us together, right? We're trying not to reinvent the wheel, and our AD has done a great job. Brad Duckworth has done a great job fixing the culture of this athletic department in general since when I first got here. And, everybody has their door open. I mean, the staff has had great debates. We had a phenomenal debate about how relationships start for college kids, whether it's we're just friends or we're seeing each other or we're together, and we put them all in order trying to figure out what. So all of the coaches would come in and we would like, well, I think this is first. I think, so even we can't agree on that. So it was pretty funny, but again, everybody's open to everything. We all get all dressed up for Halloween. We get into Christmas parties, all that type of stuff. And I think, again, that's one of the things that makes this university so great. Then you add academically, obviously you have the University of Wisconsin name behind it, but we're like the best bang for your buck if you want to be in education, right? From a teaching, from a special needs, from, any of that. Then you have our wellness dietetics program. Then you have anything, if you're looking to go into anything medical, like our biology science buildings are tops. Like since I've been here, we haven't had a player not get into their first choice of grad schools. And, case in point, we have a player this year. She is pre-pharmacy and she graduates in 3.5 years. And she's already been accepted into University of Iowa's pharmacy program, right? She also was accepted into Ohio State's pharmacy program, Tennessee's pharmacy program, Memphis pharmacy program, Colorado, like they're so good. It's a little scary. And then we also have our physical therapy doctorate program. Our athletic training program is phenomenal. You can get your master's in athletic training in 5 years. Speech communication disorders is one of the tops in the country, and you can get a master's in that in 5 years. So there's so many things. And then it's annoying. It was annoying at COVID. It's not so much annoying now, but our students get out of school in under 4 years consistently, right? So when COVID hit, everybody everywhere else had another year or semester of school. I'm like, I have no one. Like no one stayed because they all, I'm not going to turn around and ask someone, hey, you want to pay another $12,000 to come and play soccer for a semester when you don't even need the class. So from that standpoint, it stinks. But from the other standpoint, I can look a parent in the face going, it won't cost you more than this.
No, that's great.
And I think that that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's rewind back to say conference,
Hmm.
time. Uh, Real quick, just walk me through what's a typical week look like for a player in terms of wins, practice, meals, classes, games, all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Um, so our ladies do weights with a partner on their own. So they get a weight workout and they can do that whenever they want to. We normally do 2 days during the season. Obviously, they do it more together during preseason when there's no class issue. Um, Mondays have consistently been our off days. So most of our ladies take labs and stuff, night classes on that day. Tuesday, we normally have a game Wednesday. So we come in and we do like an hour practice to just warm up, activate, and then we play something high intensity, mimics the game so you're comfortable. And then they all go and do what they need to do. Then Wednesday, we normally have a game on in September. Then we come back, we do a recovery practice on Thursday if we had a game on Wednesday. Friday, we have a normal 1.5 hour practice, right? I've learned in my time doing this that anything over an hour and a half, it's like they're going squirrel, squirrel, you know. So if we get what we need done, we're out in an hour and a half. Um, they normally get there a little bit earlier to warm up and do that, so we're not having to wait around and we get the most out of our time. Friday, same thing. If it's a day before a game, we'll go for an hour. Same type of principle. We'll do something where it's very game like, very quick, kind of some type of competition. So we in develop that as well. If we play Saturday, we play Sunday. And then once we kind of get into conference, we really try to only play conference games, right? One from a scouting point where, you can't call other teams in our conference for scouting report. Um, so they're having to look 2 or 3 games behind and watch video as opposed to call someone to find out what we do, right? Um, but once we get to conference, there's 2 weeks where we have Wednesday, Saturday games, and then the rest we have Saturday games. So we really try. It's a little bit of a taper to get them engaged, and at that point, normally they're getting where they're gonna have midterms and stuff like that. So it's a perfect opportunity to remind them that they are student athletes, not just athletes. And they may have to go 30 minutes before practice to the athletic training room to get, prehab. And, if they're injured, then they have to do something else. But we try, you know, I was a student athlete. I try not to waste time where they don't need, we don't demand anything that is over and above because I know the demands that are already on them to begin with. So I value their time just like they value our time. Um, we meet with our players every other week. Just we try not to talk soccer in those meetings because I get bored talking soccer, so I know they have to. And it's more about what's going on in their life, right? And again, it helps us kind of motivate them when we get into soccer, but also if there's something, mental health wise or something like that that we need to be aware of, we try to get that out of them. They take a mental um, wellness test when they first get in, and we get a response back from that pretty general, but it's like, 20% of your student athletes have social anxiety. Here are ways for you to help that and try to help them get over that. And then, if there's something else we need to know of, we're triggered on it, but again, we don't know who it is, but it's just kind of there for us. And those have really kind of helped. And then we also give our players, I refer to them, let me see if I have some over here. I refer to them as poop days. And um, they can use them anytime during the year. And the only stipulation is it can't be the day before a game and it can't be a day we're doing fitness. So if someone just comes in and like, I just can't do it today. I just, it's not, I've got a lot on my plate. I need a day off. All they have to do is tell me that they're not coming to practice. They're using a poop day. And I'm like, all right, no problem. And we make that something that's okay. Right. It's not necessarily frowned upon. Then also, it's a way to hopefully engage the players. So let's say practice stinks, right? And there's no energy or whatever. I may say, all right, the winner of this gets a poop, right? And so they have a paper poop that is transferable, right? And so if they don't use it in their 4 years here or want to give it to another teammate who might be struggling or whatever, they're more than able to do that. And so that's really kind of helped take us to another level too, where the players know that we're not just talking the talk, but like we're trying to help you. Let us know.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I love that. Well, in terms of the players and the is it roster size? Is that I know we're coming upon the new roster limits in the NCAA, but for a Division III school, what do you find is your ideal roster size that you like to hit?
You know, it's pretty hard to keep kids happy if they're not playing, right? Um, so we've consistently been at 25 players. The max I will ever go is 27. And four of those are goalkeepers, right? Because I enjoy training to big goals whenever we can, right? It's game realistic. So we've really kind of looked into that. So 27, that's the consistent number. That's the max number of Titan sensors we have for GPS and all that other fun stuff too, right?
Uh,
So, and it's nice because our athletic director is fine with that, right? We've been, when a lot of colleges are getting rid of sports, we've been adding them. This has been the first year we've had men's soccer since I've been here, and Jordan had a great year with the men's team. They, finished above 500 and he put the groundwork in. So that's really, really good. So, yeah, it's such a unique experience and it's fun. And, we're going to start doing more with the men's team as we get going again.
That's awesome. Well, besides players on a roster, there's coaches and other staff. So talk to me about what other staff you have on the roster or that help with the team, whether that's coaches or training
Yeah.
staff or anybody else, and what does that look like?
Yeah. So one of the things we've kind of looked into doing is once I had my daughter, I kind of feel like I realized I wasn't doing enough to promote women in the women's game, which seems weird. But I'm a member of the Wisconsin Women in Soccer Board, and so our main goal is to try to keep women involved in the game from a coaching, administrative, refing, just whatever we need to do to try to keep women there so players can see that it's a viable option later on. So we will have two current players as student assistants next year. One through injury and one who's going to be working on a grad degree. And both of them want to coach in the future. So we're trying to give them kind of a leg up on what it is that they're trying to do. We're going to get them involved in Wisconsin ODP so the players can kind of see them. From there, I also have, this is the first year I've had a full time assistant. So I'm very grateful to our administration for that. Corey Bougie is my assistant, and I enjoy saying that name like there's no tomorrow. Um, he's not so much bougie, that's for dang sure, but he is a great role model for the players. He has three daughters. It's really funny because some of the club coaches were like, "Oh, I'm sure Dawn has you picking up cones, and that's all you kind of get to do." And he's like, "I think Dawn picks up more cones than I do." Um, and to me, it's great to have a different voice. They've been hearing my voice for the last, 10 years. So it's good that they get somebody else in there. And then the other part too is it's good to finally have somebody in the office to banter back and forth with and like enjoy it. The other assistant we have is Eric Weiberg, and he is our goalkeeper coach. We look at it as he's full time, but he's a volunteer and he's at every single practice, right? He's retired. There's not very many Division III programs that have a full time goalkeeper coach, so it's really outstanding to have somebody with his presence with Camp Shutout, and um, he's been doing it long enough. And again, I think the main part of our staff is all of us are in it for the betterment of the game, not for ego or any of that kind of stuff. The light bulb moments are the ones we look forward to the most. And let's be honest too, there's so many different ways to do the same thing in soccer. And it's individual flair that you're looking for. And so you want to keep that with the players. And so it's not so much this is wrong, that's wrong. It's how can you manipulate it to work for you. So I think we're all kind of on the same level with that as well. And then, of course, we have a phenomenal athletic trainer. Um, and it all goes together. Like they do a great job of working to make sure we get everything going.
Awesome. Well, Coach, you've been super generous with your time. Don't want to keep you here too long. I'm going to give you one last question,
Okay.
and that is, if you had one piece of advice for someone going through this college recruiting process, what would that be?
It's your journey, not anybody else's. And it's all about fit, right? Is it important for you to play? Is it important for you to just say you're part of something? Do you want to be the main part and why something's working? Or are you comfortable being in the back? Um, and I think that that's an important thing to look at, right? The other thing that I would say is huge is don't just go somewhere because you're getting money. If they don't have your major, you're going to end up transferring out, and you're going to be probably paying more since credits don't transfer that well. So it's your process. Enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, really appreciate the time and the insights. Wish you the best of luck as you finish out this recruiting class that you're working on. And if you do get to any of the events down here in Florida, give me a shout. All right.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.